Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, back with a Magic Dragonknight PvP build called Laceration. It's back with a lot of help from my friends Kilandros and Quantum. Took me a while. This was in the kitchen because I sucked at it, but now it is really good to play a Dragonknight again. Both solo, small group, Zergan, whatever. It feels like the old school Dragonknight. Sword and board, tanky, can do damage, AoE single target. So I'm going to explain everything that I found useful in this build, whether it's skills, gear, champion points, consumables, and Mundus, and how to even level as a Magic Dragonknight in PvP. So I'm going to explain to you the skills first, and like I said, the Dragonknight is really just fun to play again. It's almost, if not as enjoyable or more enjoyable, my Stamina Dragonknight. So if you're looking for something that's really good independently of a healer and can even 1vx to some extent, this is it. I don't think it's the strongest class play style for PvP right now, but I feel very strong by myself, in a small group, in a large group, and I don't need a pocket healer. That's what I'm liking about the class so far. The downside is the mobility. You know, on a magic build, you're using Mistform, or, you know, if you cleanse, if you want to use tons and tons of magic, but it's hard to get away from encounters where stand builds could use a movability pot, get all that speed, get out of there, and not to really sacrifice anything. Because a magic build, you're going to have to use Mistform. So that's the ups and downs. Limited in mobility, but tons and tons of healing, AoE, and you're tanky and can do damage. I really don't know which one I like more, but here's the Magic Dragonknight that I came up with. A lot of different ways to play this build, and a lot of different skills that I swap in and out depending if I'm playing solo, with a healer, or not. Let's go with the fundamental core ability of this build, and that is whip it and dip it, baby. Flame Lash. So essentially what this does is whips a target, and if you strike the enemy that is mobilized or stunned, you set them off balance. You can set off an enemy off balance every 5 seconds, which is going to basically light up your second ability key to allow you to do a whip again. It's going to be hit harder, and it's going to heal the crap out of you. So basically your main spammable attack, if you set it up properly, is going to heal the crap out of you. Similar to what it used to do, if not even more so. So that's kind of where we're setting the build around, is how to use this as a skill. So what we're going to need are tools that can stun enemies and immobilize them. Because remember, those are on 2 different timers. So if I stun someone and they break free, they get 7 seconds of immunity. Now you can use potions and do some other things to extend that. But essentially you're going to have 7 seconds where that's not going to apply. But during that time, you can immobilize them. So we're centering the build specifically around this skill, okay? Which is a main spammable attack. It's not dirt cheap, but it's decent. And it heals us if we proc that second attack, okay? So how do we do this? 1, our control mechanism is fossilized. If you're familiar with the stamina playstyle that I use, this is a really good skill because it cannot be blocked or dodged, okay? This is a single target skill, only 8 meters range, where the Nightblade has like mass hysteria that's essentially AoE, but it's still fundamentally important. Now, I do swap this in or out depending on if I'm playing with a Nightblade specifically. You need to be able to drop block in this build and reliably stun. And if you have someone that can do it for you, swap it out. If you don't, you need this skill. Because guess what? That stun is going to proc that double Flame Lash. So that's when you're going to use it. Every seconds that they can be, every time you see them, that they can be stunned, take advantage of it. Proc that Flame Lash. Get healed while doing damage. The second thing here is Burning Talons. Now, this is the AoE immobilization for 4 seconds, and it has a damage over time component with it. Both morphs are very strong. One, more damage AoE focused. The other one, minor maim, which is really good if you're focused on more on one-on-one, dueling, you want to be more tanky. So it just depends on what you want. I went for more AoE damage, so thus I took Burning Talons. Though, look at the magic cost. It is ridiculously high. So this isn't going to be something you're going to want to spam cast. This isn't going to be something you're going to want to use willy-nilly. But you are going to use it to get opponents back and then also proc that Flame Lash. Especially if they have break free that circles around their feet, you can still control the battlefield like this. So let me explain just these 3 skills, just them, okay? because this is how you dominate someone one-on-one or in a group. So we got little target skeleton. Yes, I know this isn't a player, but you see I'm going to stun them with Fossilize, okay? Then I'm going to proc my whip. You see the number 2 key lights up. Boom. Hits him pretty hard. Now, the circle around his feet, right? He can't be stunned, but he can be immobilized. Thus, you can proc it again. Then you can stun him. Once that goes away, Fossilize again, proc it over and over and over. Another thing I don't see players doing very effectively on a Dragonite is kiting and getting your targets back. So when you're fighting someone, you should not be trying to face them like this at all times, especially on a Dragonite. You want to talons them, always think in your brain, get their back, get their back, get their back, get their back, get their back. Very, 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 very few skills, unless it's AoE, can hit you if you're directly behind your opponent. So it's going to take them a second or two, a dodge, a skill, a cleanse, or something to get out of it. It's essentially you're doing damage while not taking any. Sounds fundamentally simple, but these little things like this can be the difference between you getting nuked down and not. So essentially, get like here, get behind their back, and just whip the crap out of them. Boom, that's up. See, circle around them, so I can't fossilize them. You see that number 1 key? It's not popping up. But as soon as that circle goes away, that's 7 seconds. Get back down, son. So you're controlling them. As soon as that goes away, boom, this is how you lock down a target. They are going to be completely pissed at you. If you don't run out of magic, there should be almost no way, unless they're playing like a magic sork or something else, that you can't just really control them with those 3 skills. So if you get anything out of this build video, it's how to control someone with these 3 skills. You got to stun every 7 seconds, unless they're using movability potion. But it's idiot proof. If you can't cast it if they're immune to it. You got your immobilization. This can be used. They're going to have to dodge, cleanse, misform out of it. It's going to cost them something to get out of it. And when you do it, get their back. Always look to proc the double flame lash. It hit harder and it heals you. These are the 3 core fundamental skills. Okay, the next ability we're going to go over is the Draconic Power Heal, Coagulating Blood, kind of like the magic based heal. It's going to heal you based on your missing health, okay? So you want to use this when you're really, really low health, not when you're 70% health or something like that. This is not what it's for. So I would kind of focus your healing on using Flame Lash over this. But this is an oh crap, I'm at 25% health, click. Oh crap, I'm at 33% health, click. Okay? So we put this on the front bar just for simplistic sake, okay? And that gives us basically one room for something else. So we got our big powerful heal, and then we have a skill that is really just up to your play style and what you're going up against. So Draw Essence. This is an AoE damage skill that heals you, and then also, boom, shoots out damage after a while and restores magic if you hit nearby enemies. So if there's a lot of people beating on you, I use this skill. Typically when I play by myself, there's 6 people beating on me. So this almost acts as an even more powerful heal than, say, Coagulating Blood, because it heals and it does damage after a little bit. Plus, if there's 6 people beating on me, I'm getting tons and tons of magic back. This isn't going to be something you want to spam necessarily, though you can if you're like an oh crap moment. But this is my AoE judgment skill. If I'm going to play like one-on-one, 1v2s or something like that at resources, I don't use this skill. What I use is the incredibly powerful Burning Embers. Cost very, very little. It has tons of damage over time, but the heal is staggeringly powerful. So it just depends what I'm doing. If 3-6 people are beating on me all the time, I'm going with this because it's just AoE. I can do so much AoE damage with just Draw Essence and Talons and then spam this for a quick heal. It makes it worthwhile. But if I'm going up against 1Zs and 2Zs and maybe even 3Zs, Burning Embers, it's going to be very, very hard to kill me. So you could just play this build when you're getting started with just really these skills and do pretty good. That leads us to our ultimate, Ferocious Leap. So this is Dragon Leap. The nice thing about this is it gives you a nice little damage shield. Now damage shields are halved in Cyrodiil, so that's something to think about. But is it as cool as Take Flight? Yeah, doesn't have the range, but man, it hits just as hard. I mean, I got 14k crits on players with this thing. So it's really, really good. Now you want to set this up though, okay? When I say set this up, you want to take advantage of Empower. So Empower is going to lead us to our back bar, which is a Destruction Staff. degeneration. So I take this over, say, the other morph, which gives you more max health, because there's really no benefit for me to have more max health on my back bar. And then the fact that this can actually give us health even when we light and heavy attack, especially ripping off a fully charged heavy attack on Flame Staff, it gives me too much advantages not to use it. So when you do use this, if your mage's guild is max, what happens is you get an empower. Your hands light up. And for the next 5 seconds, any direct damage ability you cast, 20% harder. So what typically you'll see me do in some of these little videos is I'll cast this, bar swap, leap. That is the DK dunk necessarily, is that you empower your leap, it hits freaky hard and just rocks people. Okay, you can even add more damage to this too. So the thing that I was struggling with early on in this build is sustain. And Quantum kept telling me, use Elemental Drain, use Elemental Drain, use it. I'm like, what the hell? Why would I use this skill? This thing changed my life, okay? This is how I sustained way better, even as an Argonian. Is basically what this does is it doesn't cost anything. It has 28 meter range and a 24-second duration. Now it can be cleansed, but Major Breach right there, that adds a lot of damage for us. It's roughly 8%. It also costs minor magic steal. So when you're weaving attacks, whether it's on your sword and board, that enchant procking, your flame attacks, whatever, this thing is going to give you back magicka, and that's what's going to give us to sustain, since we don't have any reduced cost champion points. So whatever you're facing, I wouldn't take this off. Even if you're going up against big huge groups, you're still going to want to target and pressure one target typically, and that's the target you're going to put Elemental Drain. And let's say they're closing the distance as a group, you can apply this to a bunch of different targets, and as long as they're not cleansing it off, you're going to get the advantage of it. So it adds damage, it gives us resources, and it's free. It's an incredible skill. Please, just try this. I didn't believe it at first, but he kept saying, all right, I'll do it. It was legit. Love this skill. Could be different, flexible, engulfing flames. So it's AoE damage. You have to be close, 10 meter radius, conal in front of you. But 10% more damage from fire attacks? Okay, so you put the 10% more damage from fire attacks and the roughly 8% from Elemental Drain. This thing's hitting really hard, okay? So that's why I like this. It doesn't cost that much, but remember, the more damage we have, more healing we're going to get with Flame Lash on our front bar. So that's why I use these two skills in conjunction. And that leads us to another active ability, Volatile Armor. So this sprays out, gives us our major ward and major resolve, physical and spell resistance, but guess what? It does magic damage all over when you activate it, okay? And while active, the armor returns magic damage to the melee attacker. Now, it's not necessarily fire damage, but the magic damage is just another AoE damage ability. So typically what I do is I cast this before I charge in or someone charges me, but on duration, or if they haven't been applied to that magic damage, I'll cast it again, okay? So it lasts 20 seconds, the damage over time lasts 10s. It's a really powerful skill. So even on your back bar, you have 3 dots on your back bar. You got Degeneration, Volatile Armor, which is AoE up close. You have Conal AoE right there. So that's a lot of AoE, and not even really having a spammable AoE attack. Not to mention, you flip to this bar, you got more AoE with Talons, more AoE with Draw Essence, or you could swap in single target. So it's a lot of damage, it makes us tanky. It's just a really good skill. Also, I use this to get Nightblades out of stealth. So you'll notice the radius is 10 meters around you. So when a Nightblade cloaks, if you don't have a Spell Detect potion up or Inner Light, you just pop this. Typically, they can't run away fast enough, and the spray will actually hit them and knock them out of stealth. So that's kind of how I deal with those guys. Now that leads us to, the thing that's our crutch as a magic build, which is Elusive Mist. Elusive Mist is great because it removes immobilizations, but it's terrible because your magic recovery is disabled. So you can move around and stuff and get a little major expedition, but you can't sprint while you're in it. You can't cast spells. You're basically just like kind of waiting to die type thing. The reason I use it is I have to have something that gets rid of immobilizations and snares, and this game is all about that. Right now, I think the game has a big problem because the only way to do it on a non-Templar is this skill, and it's only 2. When a Templar gets 5. So it's like you're almost having to use this unless you just want to stay stationary or do dodge rolls and runs out of stamina. And then you'll notice that I'm not using Igneous Shields, and I was using Igneous Shields until coagulating blood. And it would do good. It would do good healing, but I blow through my resources really quick. And you see 3,900 magic, and it only lasts for 3 seconds. I mean, it's too bad. This skill was fundamental, and it's almost like not worth using due to its high cost and low 3-second nature. So instead, I've adapted my playstyle to be more damage-producing offense that heals me. And that seems to actually make me more survivable, believe it or not. But you could put Igneous Shields up here on Draw Essence. You could, drop a skill back here and put Burning Embers, however you see fit. But I didn't. I actually found my survivability increased once I dropped Igneous Shields, as odd as that sounds. Last ability up is the Destruction Staff, Eye of the Storm. So in PvP, this still has gotten nerfed, but with it, Engulfing Flames up and Elemental Drain hits really hard still. Now, the reason I like this skill, and I've tried a bunch of different ones, the reason I like it is essentially you can't block the damage. So you're going to come up against people that are just perma-blocking, and they're just sitting there spamming Breath of Life and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, I got something for that. Plus, it's also 250 ultimate cost. So I'm not going to use this super frequently because most likely I'm leaping people, onesies and twosies. But if I'm coming across a big, huge group, 4 to 6, and I'm playing maybe 1 or 2 people, this is the skill I'm going to go to, because that 250 ultimate via Battle Roar is like a God mode. Oh, boom, shoot, shot full of resources and health. So that's why it's really, really useful. Now, I tried a bunch of different ones. So Standard of Might, I tried that. Problem is, it can be negated. It's not mobile. And the other one, Shifting Standard, sounds really good because it lasts long, but you're not really generating ultimate for 24 seconds. So it's one of those things where I like Standard of Might, I like the Shifting Standard, but with this setup, I really need ultimate to be generating as fast as possible. So you could even do another thing, which if I'm going for a single target nuke, this is great. What you do is you cast Meteor on a target, okay? That can be CC'd. You cast Meteor, you bar swap, and then you fossilize. You fossilize before they can block the Meteor. What that's going to do is to basically just boom, drop their block. That's going to hit them for the entire damage up front, and then they're going to be soaked up in that flame damage. Block them down with the Talons after they come out of the mobilization from fossilize. They're going to be hurting. So it takes some skill to get this down, because let's say you cast a meter and then you get stunned. Well, you might want to set it up with a potion. So it takes a minute to get used to that. But if you can master on your back bar and you like killing just single target people, it's great. Because remember, it gives you ultimate back for each enemy hit. And you start generating ultimate back. So it's really up to you. There's no one way that I found to play this correctly. I swap skills in and out all the time. Just kind of just who I'm going against, what they're using, and what the context of the fighting is. Okay, that's the skills. Now you look at this gear though. Don't it look good? All right, let me show you. I'm going to show you the motif and all that stuff. Ready? Alright, before I get any 1,000 questions on the dye, basically the dye is Bloodroot Wine. It's that cool little orange color. So it's for completing both dungeons in the Horns of the Reach DLC. So it's that color. Then it's Cold Harbor Ash Black on the middle. And then the final one is Undaunted Bronze. Okay? Fashion is endgame. But as you can see from my inventory, I tried a crap ton of sets. Okay? And like I said, there's no one way to play this. You need to find out what works best for you, okay? With that being said, let's go to some basics here. Shacklebreaker. It's a great craftable set because of the max stats, the recovery. I can't say enough about this set. It's really, really good in Dragonknight. Because what happens is when you have this max stat pool and you combine it with like a prismatic enchants on your 3 large pieces, chest, head, and legs, it allows you to use food like this, citrus. So I'm at 1500 regen with all spell damage enchants on here, okay? And I'm using Burning Spellweave as my damage source. Now, Magic Recovery 1500. That's actually pretty good in Argonian. No potions up, no continuous attack up. When I say continuous attack, I don't think a lot of players factor this into their builds. Is that when you take resources keep, that sort of thing, look at this. Spell damage, magic recovery, and stamina recovery. Wow. So that's why I'm always taking resources. You'll see maybe in my streams. I'm trying to proc this. I'm trying to get the most out of this. Now you combine that with a potion, 20%. I'm telling you, you're almost at 2k regen. And then you're Argonian, so the potions just come. You're almost at 3,000 spell damage once you're buffed, okay? So I would recommend Sturdy if you're going to play it. I would recommend the traits on your armor to be sturdy if you're going to play it like the old school Dragonknight whole block sword and board thing, okay? If you're not going to play it, try to do a balance. Maybe 2 infuse, 5 impen. Maybe 4 impen, 3 sturdy. And then your shield being sturdy as well. It just depends on how much you want to block. Blocking is great, but it's going to stop your stamina recovery. But that's okay because we have Battle Roar and we have Potions. So we have ways around it. So it just depends on your playstyle. Another option that I tried that I didn't care for, but a lot of people keep talking about, is Shocks, which grants you minor heroism all the time when you're in combat. Essentially, you're always in combat in Cyrodiil. It gives you access to a lot of ultimates, which essentially is, you know, damage and healing because you're getting resources and all that stuff back. But the thing was, I sacrificed so much in terms of max stats that I didn't perform as well, not nearly as well. So, you know, if it's good for you, try it out, but I didn't like it. Now, my main 5-piece damage set that I like the most is Burning Spell Wave. You can see I just have a dagger here. I don't even have a sword, but you would want sword and shield. And so I do all spell damage here. I got Impenetrable. I'd probably change that to Sturdy if I had more Transmute Stones. The thing about this set that I like, Spinners is great. War Maiden is great. The Axiom set you can use as well. There's a million different options. The thing about this is, on a Dragonknight, it's all about that flame damage. And that it applies the burning status effect, okay? Not only the spell damage, but the burning status effect. Combine that with the engulfing flames, even if you're using burning embers and you're whipping the crap out of someone, it's just so much for someone to deal with. Also, once you apply the spell damage, it's not just limited to your front bar. When you bar swap, you get it as well. Also went with an infused back bar burning spell wave staff. Reason why is, number one, I still get the 4-piece spell critical, which is somewhat useful. Number two, the infuse with the magic is really, really nice. If I rip off a fully charged heavy, the passive along with the proc gives me some magic back. You can use poisons, whatever you want. Also up front here, you don't have to use poisons unless you're hurting. I would recommend a flame damage enchant. Why? More likely to proc that burning spell wave, okay? Sets you can like swap this in and out. Like I said, Spinners, War Maiden, but I would take the time to farm this. It really, really works well on a Dragonknight. Scoria, speaking of which. So I'm using 5-1-1 here to get my max stat pool up, though you can do 5-2, 5 heavy, 2 light if you're struggling with resources. But the reason it's hit so hard, I'm on a Dragonknight, Engulfing Flames. Get that Spell Breach on him, start whipping him. It's great, and it's unavoidable. That's the nice thing about this. It's a proc set, so it can't crit. There is some limitations because the 1 piece is max health, but hey, it's unavoidable damage. Options for Helms. There's a bunch of options for Helms as well. So you could do Bloodspawn. It's going to make you really tanky. It's going to give you ultimate back, which essentially is resources, okay? And if you're getting Zerg down and you're just getting pounded, try this set out. Another thing that I tried, which seems odd, but actually was quite effective, was 1 Chokethorn and then 1 of this Dominahas or whatever. So it gives you tons of max stats, and then this gives you max recovery. So if you're having trouble managing your resources and want just something that's not reliant on a proc, I just combined these 2 1 pieces and it worked out really, really well if you don't like proc sets. Grothar is another set that a lot of people run, and the thing about Grothar is it's great for melee builds, damage over time effects, but it doesn't have the burst necessarily, and that's what we're looking for to kill off people is burst. So you hear that Scoria, boom, fossilized, couple whips, boom. If you're going to jump in a big, huge group, want to proxy debt people, hey, Grothar's great. But just depends on your playstyle. And I think Scoria all around, for me, perform better. Okay, Consumables and Mundus, whatnot. Atronach, though, you can do the Lover, you can do the Apprentice, you can do the Mage. All sorts of different options, and I would say pick one that suits your playstyle best. If you're using, say, Bloodspawn, and you're getting ultimate proc, that essentially equals resources, and I would swap this out for a damage-producing one. But the sky's the limit. Test it. Do you run out of resources? Stick with the Atronach. do you not run out of resources, go with some more damage producing one. This is the Clockwork Citrus Fillet. So max health, magic recovery, max magic. It's fundamentally crazy good because my health recovery, even as a stage 4 vampire, is up there. So Troll King, procs, boom, I'm right in the green with that. Now, if you don't have this, you can still use the Witch Mother's Brew, or you can use another one that's just max health and just a crap ton of magic recovery. You'll lose a lot of damage, but you'll be very, very good on resources. So just depends on how you play. Potions, potions, potions. Can't say enough about them and how important they are. You can use immovability potions that give you your crit. Since I don't have Inner Light and I'm not running Inferno, that's just kind of what I found that works best for me. You can run Inferno on the front bar. It works really, really well. A lot of single target pressure, but I just found Deep Breath or Burning Embers on the front bar to be better. Something else I would recommend carrying, and even though we have Entropy or Generation giving our major sorcery buff, this is really, really nice when Nightblades are pressuring you or you're going over a place that you know, hey, there's probably going to be some Nightblades on the bridge. Pop this sucker. You're going to expose them. Lock them down with Talons and beat the crap out of them. Volatile armor if they try to get away. That 15 seconds or so of stealth detection is really, really nice, especially playing solo. Can't say enough about it. And tripods, on our Argonian, tripod is like an extra battle roar. It is redonkulous good. I'm telling you. So I keep a lot of different potions, and I even keep some of these suckers. Essence of Lingering Health. Sometimes I'll just click it if I know I'm just going to go into a bunch of crap, and I might get nuked in 5 seconds. So just experiment with it. Also, poisons. You drain magic, drain health, whatever you can. Find out what works best for you in the sustain factor. That's really the trick. But if you're keeping your elemental drain up, you're using the Atronach Munda Stone, your sustain should be pretty good. So I know I'm going to get 1,000 questions on race, and what I'll say is it's based on the player, your play style. Races are pretty balanced, but I think one of them that's not is the Argonian. I really think it's probably the strongest all around for the way I play. No, it does not have the most damage. Increase your max magic by 3%. No, we're not a Dummer. Dummer is going to give you crazy damage, but it's not going to have the same potion passive. The potion passive, I'm telling you right now, freaky good. If you're trying to play outnumbered battlegrounds, you got bird spammers, snipers on you all the time. You're going to need that resources and that extra health too. Can't say enough about it. The resistances is nice. Max health. What this does is it frees up some stats that you could, drop prismatic and run to even more max magic. The poison resistance, that's okay, but increase your healing done and healing received by 5%. All of these combined make the playstyle the way I like it. Super tanky, and it's almost like I have 2 battle roars. I use an ultimate, flood of resources. Use a tripod, flood of resources. And those 2 things are almost always going to be up. I'm just about to die. Either an ultimate up or a potions up. And that's why I go with Argonian. But like I've said before, pick something that suits you, get ridiculous good at it, and don't pay $30 to race change every week because someone else says it's great. Alright, quickly touching on champion points here. In the green, I go with 30 into Warlord, 20 into Sprinter. Now, there's some that suggest that you only get about 9% bonus here, but this is just what I've found. I go over here and I do 75 into Arcanist and then 10 in Tenacity, though there is pretty heavy diminishing returns in the Arcanist, so play around with it. If you're doing fully charged heavy attacks as a main staple of restoring resources, I would take some away from regeneration and put it in here. I don't have any into stamina recovery since I'm holding block frequently. Also, I'm a stage 4 vampire, so it doesn't seem useful to have health recovery. Come on over here, and I pump the crap out of Shadow Ward. You combine this with tons of sturdy traits, and you are going to be blocking and blocking. Now, the reason this is useful, you can mitigate a lot of damage, and the Dragonknight has the whip is an instance cast, so you don't need to drop block like puncturing sweeps on a Templar. That's what makes the playstyle of Sword and Board so fun on a Dragonknight. Tumbling, reduce the cost of dodge roll. Don't dodge roll that frequently, but there's so much diminishing returns in Shadow Ward and some of these others that it's useful to put some in there. Then the damage, this is mainly a damage over time setup. Basically, I don't know what the optimal thing to do is, but this is kind of the numbers that ESO helped me run. 40 into Elfborn, 56 into Elemental Expert, 31 into Spell Erosion, 28 into Master of Arms here, and then 75 into Thaumaturge. And like I said, I don't know the math behind all these champion points, so you might have a better calculation. Coming over here, I go 48 into Ironclad, and I get about 1,000 crit resistance here. So that will help us with if we're running a lot more sturdy traits. Right, over here, I do 48 into Thick, 43, 43 in Elemental and Hardy. And then I like that Field Physician, so 3 and 7 works best for me. And that's the champion points. Okay, so that's the build. Now, with the rest of the time in the video, I want to show you a clip of Gil and I PvPing together and kind of walk you through my thought process while I'm playing the build. That way, you kind of know how to use it. And if you haven't seen it on the stream, I don't want to make a separate video. So this whole clip is 14 minutes. We'll see if we can narrow it down a little bit so you can get the most out of this. But it will use basically the same skills, CP, gear setup that I'm using right now. So let's walk through and just see how to play Laceration. Just remember, it took me a long time of getting my teeth kicked in. I sucked at this build, on stream, off stream, whatever. So if you like the playstyle, stick with it. Trust me, it will get better. You will get better. But put yourself in uncomfortable situations, outnumbered. Throw yourself in a Zerg. Who cares if you die? Just respawn and go try it again. If you last 0.5 seconds longer every time, imagine how much better you would be with the build in a year, a month, a day. Keep doing it. Believe me, you'll get better. Hell, if I can, you can. All right. Shut up, Deltia. Let's PvP. Alright, so the action picks up at a resource. And I take resources a lot. And I'm playing with Gil, Stam Nightblade, my Magic TK. We take resources because we can use the NPCs to our advantage. We're going to be fighting outnumbered most of the time just to try to, improve our builds and get our things down. So we need every advantage we can get. Continuous attack, like I talked about earlier, is going to be really, really important. And then also the NPCs, and that we can kind of go back to like a home base of operation. You can also earn a lot of AP just killing players over and over like this. So with that being said, this is the build and this is how I play it. You'll notice actually a lot of the time I'm on my destro bar, right? So what I'm doing is fully charged heavy attacking. I'm not using a gap closer to get in places because people are going to come to me, believe me. And then also I'm using Elemental Drain and Engulfing Flames as I close the distance into Generation. So you see that right there? At fully charged heavy attack, that thing hits really, really hard. It's going to proc some enchants. I'm going to get my spell power buff up, and we're going to lock down one target. Drain on them. If they don't cleanse it off, those two things are going to increase my damage significantly. So Generation, Elemental Drain, and then Gil has the burst damage too, so it's a really good combination. Also, I have Burning Embers, not Fossilized, since I am playing with a Stam Nightblade that has Mass Hysteria. So right here, he's just putting pressure on him. He can kind of cloak in and out. Allows me to get some space, come back in, breathing on him hard, locking him in, put a dot on him, and a couple whips. If they're immobilized, I get that massive healing. So I'm going to use Deep Breath infrequently. Usually 2 to 3 targets is what I like to use it with. Otherwise, it becomes pretty magic intensive unless no one else is around. So you can see a lot of the time I'm on my Destruction Staff bar, and that's where you want to be once you get your buffs up. So we got a Breath of Lifer here, apply those 2 debuffs, and the thing is, I'm watching to see if this Templar cleanses. Now they put Barrier up, so I'm not going to use an ultimate here to kill him, but I could use Destruction Staff. I'm just going to save it because we're by the keep. They can keep coming out. So contextually, I'm constantly just looking at my screen. 3v2, evaluating what should we do. So this guy's just Breath of Lifing indefinitely, but they're just gonna die and keep on coming back. So I'm getting sniped, a lot of pressure. I don't have flappers up, so what we're gonna do is peel them back. What this is gonna do is allow us to farm them at the resource, use NPCs to our advantage, and get regrouped. So when we both have ultimates, we can time it and do him a lot of damage simultaneously. And I'm ripping off fully charged heavy attacks. There's no disincentive. So you can see we get a third person in here now, so we can take on even larger numbers. So 2 of them around the corner, locking them in place, they Dawnbreaker them, and with those damage over time effects up, it's going to be hurting. I see a Cold Fire go off, that's a no-no, so I'm going to put Entropy up, and boat squish. Now, I probably shouldn't have used an ultimate on that guy, but if you're going to cold fire me on a siege, I'm going to nuke you. All right, so now this healer is isolated. No DPS to pressure us, so they can just sit there and Breath of Life. They're not going to be able to out-heal our damage. Got him down. Now, the healer's dead. They're on cooldown. They're going to come back from the keep. So let's give us a second to either get the AP if we want, about a minute, as long as no one's dying within range. Okay, so we're going back up. Going to the steps, going to the steps. A lot of snipers here. So reflective scale is not on our bar, so we're going to have to line of sight carefully. And you can see the main thing I'm doing with these guys is Talons. Talons is such an annoying ass skill to be put on you if you don't know how to deal with it. The mobilizations and CCs are on different timers. So that's what I'm doing. I don't have Fossilize on since Gil has Mass Hysteria, but I'm getting set up because I know the AD Horde's coming. You can see there's already 6 of them, and then one random guy's back up here. So that's the healer that just breathalyzed. Okay, he's gone. So we got our forward camp up if we die right up top. Usually that's like AD's thing that will just charge into it, which is perfect for us. So I'm looking at my resources, and a lot of times I'm looking at potions. Looking at potions and ultimates. Potions and ultimates. Those two things will determine, okay, how nasty and aggressive can I get without dying? Because if I pop in a potion as an Argonian, that's going to give me a flood of resources. I pop a ultimate as a DK, that's going to give me a lot of resources, especially the higher cost one. So I got a Destro ulti up here, so I know I can get pretty nasty for a while. They pop a barrier, so I know that there's really no point in using an ultimate since they got a huge damage shield and that can't be critically hit. So we're just going to buy time. That person is now, their shield's down. I'm going to Destro ulti and just put a lot of pressure on them. Because remember that Destro ulti, they can't be blocking the damage. And they're going to blow through a lot of stamina trying to block it. So that puts a lot of pressure on them. They're going to isolate that healer by themselves while the tanks and stuff try to just get me down. I'm going to tip the oil, and this guy's just a tank, and really he's just generating ultimate for us. So you don't want to blow a lot of ultimate on a tank or anything. Now you got 3 or 4 or 5, 6 guys coming up. That's okay. I'm going to bash that res if I can, put engulfing flames, get my spell damage with generation back up, and then we're going to kind of isolate the healer here. Whipping and dipping, whipping and dipping. Now the healer's jumping off. Okay, well, they're going to isolate one of their players. That's okay. I'm going to put my 2 buffs up. Deep breath goes off. And as long as I have that tab target on the healer, you can do that on console too. Tab target that person. So they Nova us. That's okay. We'll get out of it. Calm down. I'm low on resources, so I'm going to need to use a leap. I got a moment to rip off a fully charged heavy, and I leap. Now they did barrier their shields up, so it didn't hit very hard, but that's okay. So got my magic back up, and I'm looking at my potion. Potions up. So, boom, I hit it. Look how much magic that gives me back as an Argonian. So I'm back to full stam, halfway magic, we're good. So we're going to lock them down, put a couple dots on them, and we're going to drop down and reset the fight. So if we're getting overwhelmed at a certain position, change elevation and or change the approach, okay? Don't just get stagnant. You'll see when we die, that's what we do. So we're going to change elevation. I'm going to work on a couple guys down here. They're going to fall back off. And usually you can pick 1, maybe 2 off, and then you're a lot better odds instead of 2v6 or 3v6, now it's 4, now it's 2v2, and that's what's going to give you the odds. Also, they're placing siege on us because they can't kill us. So what happens is if you kill them like this, you can flip the resource and get a quick tick back at the resource and also get your continuous attack buff back up. Remember, it only lasts for about 10 minutes or so. So you want them sometimes to lure in and let them take the resource and then just go get it yourself. So I'm going to leap this guy, 7,300 leap on a heavy armor build, not bad. And then here's just the little tank guy. So don't go crazy attacking tanks. If you know you're attacking someone, they're a tank, if they're just sitting there holding block and not even using any abilities, they're just there to take up damage. So use them as a way to generate ultimate. If they're not too annoying, don't be using high cost ultimates on them unless like you have to. Just use them for ulti gen. Also, when you're flipping resources like this, fully charge heavy, get your magic topped off, and then get ultimate generating. You're a Dragon Knight. You should always be focused on how can you generate ultimate, which is basically light attacking, healing, doing those things in between combat. It will really help out. You notice we're magic, so our coagulating blood is only going to heal us. So vigors are great for stand builds that need to heal other people, because what's going to happen is you're going to proc that if you're not in combat and someone else is and you heal them, you can generate ultimate. Okay. So they drop a Nova on me, they're sniping me, lovely, while their friend's dying, that's okay, and we're getting the flags flipped. So I'm going to kind of hang around here, and I'm going to slot Siege. What this is going to do, it's going to piss them off, number 1. Number 2, it allows an AoE heal debuff. So Gil has in-cap on, I'm not using banner. That heal debuff, reduced healing is good as damage, really, because if they can't heal themselves, they're going to be hurting. So I'm going to still hang around the flag, and I'm looking, is the flag flipping? Yep, it's flipped. Because you see that full bar, the NPC should be turning soon. We're going to get that continuous attack as long as we're in range. Good, you're good. There's that breath plar, so they're just breathing. I'm looking at the odds, 4 to 5, maybe 1 in stealth. That's okay, getting them low. They barrier. Okay, relax. Don't pressure them too much. You don't, because you're not going to be able to crit that barrier. Once that barrier goes down, you can see them low here. I'm close to a leap. Come on. I'm close to leap, Delty. You're on TV. Get a leap. Oh, we got 5 or 6 now, so I'm in trouble. They're just trying to chains me back. That's okay. Don't panic. Get in misform to use the mobilizations, coagulating blood, and I'm going to leap defensively. I did that to basically get a flood of resources, including health. So my potion's down. I'm not generating that much ultimate. You can see I'm kind of looking at those things and fully charging heavies in between. If they're not pressuring me with gap closers or like range attacks, do fully charge heavy attacks. Get that resources up. And you can see that pressure with the dot, scoria, unavoidable damage. It's nasty. Deep breath talons. Boom, man. Come on, this looks fun playing this Dragonite, don't it? Look at this. Oh, man. We're just ripping it. I want to like get back in and play again. Leap. That was kind of a stupid leap, but all right, so don't get too excited. You should save your ultimates for appropriate times. Nuking down one person is great, but if you're going to know you're going to get attacked by 5 or 6 people, don't use an ultimate. Save it. So leaping a tank wasn't a good idea. That was a bad play on my part. So now, next engagement we get, guess what? I don't have anything. So this is a good time to set up, get more siege, to not kill anyone, to reap your reward so you get an AP. Remember that when you kill players over and over the same ones, they become less and less worth AP, but the number at the resource worth kills does not. So I'm going to say, hey, good job, dude. This guy's ripping it. He's not in our group, but he's killing it. So you can see in the bottom right corner is when the AP will come, usually about 1 minute without killing anyone. You can still be combat, but you just can't be killing anyone. For this specific resource on row, it's about the steps. Near the steps is where that is. Okay. So I'm just fully charging heavy attacks, and the fully charged heavy attack infused with a fire on the back can really do some damage. So don't underestimate the value of free damage. So he goes in here and just nuking him down, but he's in trouble. So I'm going to peel for him, do a leap here, just to kind of get people off of him. My deep breath goes off, and you can see Gil comes in, squishes them like bugs with Dawnbreaker. And now I'm just, the pressure with the damage over time effects is staggering. It doesn't, the health bars don't move like super fast unless you use a Destro Ult or a leap, but just the fact that you're just kind of wearing on him, wearing on him, wearing on him. And your main damage ability with Whip and Deep Breath heals you. So you're doing damage and healing at the same time. You're not giving up one thing for another. And that's what's so useful, is that you can do damage while healing. And then boom, leap when you want. So boom, we're going to get on him. And you can see I'm not going to go overextend here. Reason why? They got siege. They got a tank that is literally using just one button to chains me. And I'm getting behind a rock. Gil can use cloak and get out. So I'm fully charged heavy attack. Uh-oh. Now it's time to get overwhelmed and killed. So we should have head back earlier, but we didn't. Now, as you can see, they have siege on us. I'm in mist form. I'm looking at my potion. You see? Potion, 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 potion. Bam, smashing it. So, CC break. They get me. I'm getting close to dying. 1 coagulating blood, getting mist form. And I'm looking right now. I know I just used my potion. Looking at my ultimate. He's giving me 1 vigor, 1 vigor. They're constantly stunning me every 7 seconds. I'm using talons. And then ultimate is the way we're going to survive this. So, boom, bursting in. If we go into this spot, we're probably going to die. But we just didn't really have a whole lot of options, and plus I needed to go pick my son up. So yeah, I'm making excuses. Deal with it. So you can see here, this is the strength of the build. The mobility is a limiting factor, but you're very tanky. You can do tons of AoE damage. And is this the best way to play a Magic Dragonknight? I have no idea, but I would say adapt it to what works for you. Burning Spellwave is a great 5-piece. So is Spinners. Okay, Shackle Breaker is great. So is Shock. You can find the ways to make it work, but put yourself in uncomfortable situations. As you learn, get away from the Zergs, do your own thing. That's how you progress as a player. So hopefully this works for you. Quantum and Kilandros, I appreciate you guys helping me, and thanks for watching. Rip Deltia!